In the worst shape of his life, with a dad bod, Will Smith makes a bold claim.
2021, best shape of my life.
Dropping 20 pounds in 20 weeks, which he seemingly quit before it was over.
God damn it! I'm done.
And I'll show you why in a minute. Like many of us, growing up, I enjoyed watching Will Smith's movies, particularly Bad Boys 2 and I, Robot. And in all these movies, he was in fantastic shape. But more recently, he's came out showing pictures of himself looking pretty jacked and ripped. In this video, we're going to dive deep into that, discover what he did and how he lost a dad bod, what workout plan he followed, what diet he followed, and why he quit this 20 and 20 off challenge before it even ended. Plus a handful of mistakes that he made throughout the process that we should all avoid at all costs. We've seen Will Smith's blessed genetics in movies like I, Robot, I Am Legend, Bad Boys, and Suicide Squad. So after a lifetime of having a ripped body, what happened for him to end up with a typical dad bod? Well, like many actors who have gained weight for movie roles, such as Brendan Fraser in the movie The Whale or Christian Bale in Vice, Will purposely gain more body weight for his role in the movie King Richard.
I did a movie. The character required that I put weight on. Weight, you know, the thicky woo-woo.
But then the unexpected happened.
COVID made the weight more than the role called for. I folded the tuna in gently.
Will caught a case of the Rona 19 pounds. So it looks like this is what inspired him to start this 20 pounds in 20 weeks journey with YouTube. But there's a catch. He didn't actually finish it.
And I'm ready to stop.
So I dug into what he actually did in the lead up to quitting this challenge, and it was easy to see how he actually set himself up for failure.
I'm not into fasting as a way of weight loss. I don't like it, and I don't think it's a healthy way to go about it.
Will admits to losing 5 pounds, doing it only by fasting before he started the challenge, likely due to less food weight and less water weight. And this is a risky move because when we take food out of our diet for an extended period of time and then we add it back in and then we add training on top of that, then not only are we adding more food weight back into the body, there's going to be water, and the inflammation from training can lead to more water retention, causing a spike on the scale. But on the topic of fasting or any extreme diet, I'm just not a fan of this because not only does it set you up for unrealistic expectations, it fuels this long-term like yo-yo dieting cycle that whenever we gain weight, we think, oh, we can just fast again and quickly lose it. And then we lose it, think, oh, we're all good now. Start eating normally and the weight spikes back up, and we may not take action again until we hit a new weight high, start the fasting again, lose the weight quickly, and it keeps that cycle going. This is why I am totally against crazy strict diets that fuel these yo-yo cycles long term. And I'm not the only one who shares this opinion. Even Will Smith's trainer admitted that he is not a fan of fasting. Aaron Ferguson, Will's trainer, seems to be a pretty realistic guy when it comes to health and fitness. However, their nutritionist had other ideas.
It's not actually peanut butter.
It's a kind of peanut butter.
It's a kind of peanut butter.
Almond butter.
Almond butter.
Almond butter. So it's
Yeah.
almond butter, banana. What's the cracker?
Seed cracker.
A seed cracker.
The food that Will is eating in this clip from his nutritionist is mostly carbs and fats with very little protein. And this is a problem for men, particularly as we get older. We need more protein to help us preserve and maintain the muscle that we have, or even build new muscle that maybe we've never had. And in general, men just don't eat enough protein, particularly busy guys who are sitting at the desk all day. But then Will's diet got even more confusing from a sustainability point of view.
We had to focus on this idea of nourishment. So when we look down at his plate, we want to make sure that there is 60 to 70% of high quality plant-based foods.
Yeah, this is horrible. So, but it's not about taste, no.
This here is a big red flag because Will is saying it's not about taste. Well, it kind of is. If you're going to eat 3 to 4 times a day for the rest of your life, flavor and taste plays a key role in sticking to a healthy, balanced diet. Because if we don't enjoy the foods that we eat, we're going to crave the foods that we try to delete. And that's when the tough days hit, the stress hits, life's not going to plan, things get in the way, and we end up binging out on all the foods that we have been craving for a long time. And we can see why so many people struggle to stick to a diet because they get stuck on this strict hardcore diet and then binging out and going crazy on eating everything. So this is why I encourage every client I work with to still eat dinner with the family, enjoy some tasty snacks, don't delete it and restrict it and then create this, feast and famine cycle. And after doing a little bit of research, I saw that Will Smith has followed different diets for past movie roles, and in particular, the one for Suicide Squad, where depending on, whether he had to bulk up or shred down for a particular role, he was following quite a normal meal plan, eating 3,000 to 3,500 calories, working out a lot, and maintaining that kind of buff, ripped physique. And here's an idea of what kind of meals he has ate in the past. For example, breakfast having eggs and oatmeal. For a snack, having Optimum Nutrition protein shake, or any protein shake, doesn't matter what brand it is. Lunch, chicken breast with broccoli. Dinner, beef and sweet potato. That's a pretty standard kind of bro diet that anyone would get results on, but it is a little kind of too clean and lean. But for a movie role, they're going to do this because they want to look a certain way for a limited amount of time. But even with this fancy nutritionist diet, his week 1 did not go to plan.
222. 222. So that's a failure for this week.
So as you can see, he was deeply disappointed because after all this hard training, eating perfectly, losing the initial 5 pounds before he started, he actually gained 3 pounds in the first week. Why didn't he actually lose more weight after doing all this work? There's actually 2 reasons for it. The first one being that he was doing probably no training, no hard training at all, and he dove straight into a hardcore program, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And what this can do is cause more inflammation in the body, which leads to more water retention. And that can take 1 to 2 weeks for those levels to drop back down and for the scale to actually reflect a true weight of where it's at and what body fat has dropped. But in week 2, he dropped 3 pounds.
We gotta know if we're making progress. It was 220.6.
223 back down to 220, which is likely a result of the water retention dropping, adapting to his new diet, adapting to his new training, picking up with the cardio, and the scale reflecting where his body is actually at. But the reason he isn't dropping weight quicker is simple, and that's because 1 pound of pure body fat is the equivalent to 3,500 calories, which means to drop a pound of body fat in 1 week, we need to create a 500 calorie deficit per day. So if you think about it, that's only 1 pound. And when we eat food, like eat a meal, that weighs a certain amount. That could be up to half a pound, and then we drink 2 cups of water, another half a pound, boom, we've just gained a pound. So it can be tricky for the scale, if you're only weighing yourself once a week, to actually see the true average result. And this is another problem, is he only weighed himself once a week. So he missed out on all the peaks and troughs and actually seeing the results and the averages across the whole week.
Actually, today we put a monitoring system on him, so it'll measure exactly how many calories that he's burning on a daily basis. So if we're looking to lose a pound a week, 1 pound roughly equates to around 3,500 calories. So divided by 7, it's 500 calorie deficit a day, which is a minimal amount.
And this is how weight or losing body fat can be hidden on the scale, because if you add up all the food, like all the meals, all the snacks, all the fluids that we drink an entire day, that could be anywhere from 3 to 6 pounds, maybe even more on some particular days. So it's going to be tricky for the body to just instantly reflect a fat drop if there's always inputs and outputs happening in the body. And this is something that I see every week working with clients who are training hard and building muscle. There can be periods of time where the scale just kind of chills out and doesn't do a lot. But then when we get their scan, which I'll show you here on the screen, we can see that their body fat went down while their muscle actually went up. So this is why we can't rely solely on the body weight scale, because if we do set these expectations that it's going to continue to drop constantly, then it's going to be disappointing when it doesn't. And then that's where we cause these negative reactions, and exactly why Will did this.
But I had 2 days worth of reaction.
What did you do?
Oh, just
Like 500 calories in the day?
boiled eggs, raw vegetables. That's it.
The whole day?
The whole day. And I was doing like 14 hours of fast. I would like stop eating, right? So I know that worked before,
The diet was only half the battle for Will. The other half was his workouts. Will's trainer put together a 2 days on, 1 day off workout schedule, which puts him at a minimum of 4 workouts per week, but potentially a 5th when you add up the rest days. And that split was arms and abs on day 1, legs on day 2, rest day, back and core on workout 3, and then workout 4 was just whatever they wanted to do. Then followed by a rest day and repeating that whole cycle again. So quite an intense workout structure and what I would call a bro split, which I'll explain in a minute. He also added in cardio every single morning. So the problem with this kind of bro split workout where you're only hitting one muscle group once a week is that it gives you 5 to 7 days of not hitting that muscle group again. So we've already recovered typically within 2 to 3 days of doing that particular muscle group. And then there's another potential 3+ days before hitting it again. And these days we have more and more studies coming out proving that training twice or even 3 times per week is far superior than training once a week for hypertrophy, muscle building, and strength building. And to prove that, here's a study from renowned researcher Brad Schoenfeld et al., who showed that training a muscle group twice per week is far superior than once per week. But wait, there's still cardio. I'm not against cardio. I think it's great if you enjoy doing it, and every morning is an awesome way to set up your day and feel great and get that surge and rush of energy before life and business start hitting. However, it's only as good as long as you can sustain it. And if we're already doing like 3 or 4 or even 5 workouts and then trying to force cardio on top, there's going to be a point where the burnout will likely hit, or things just aren't going to keep continuing on like this.
I'm going to get as close to death as I can tonight on the treadmill.
Yeah, because you're going to fatigue yourself really quick.
We're going to be out of action, yeah. I've had a hamstring issue. Now I'm about to get my ass shocked. Hey.
Whoa. Hey.
Well, how was rehab?
Well, I can't run in the morning, and I talked all that crap.
And that's what happened for Will. He's injured his hamstring, which isn't a surprise because, you know, if we're doing 8 to 10,000 steps per day and then all of a sudden we jump up to 30,000 steps, something is going to give. Worst case, we'll be incredibly sore and legs will feel like jelly, but the risk of injury by tripling our physical output is super high by doing this. And this wasn't the only slip up that got in Will's way on this journey. We can only train as hard as we can recover. So it's no surprise that Will actually hit this wall and it all became too hard.
It's 100 degrees right now, so we're gonna run a 5K in 100 degrees at 8 o'clock at night.
How you feeling, man? That was hard.
I didn't get the training in that I should have got in, and I didn't eat right.
However, he did look great on this 5K run in the crazy Dubai heat, even at nighttime, but it did have an impact on his body.
What did you just say?
No gym today.
Like how many times has he canceled workouts for the show?
This week's different. I think a lot of the times, like, he's been monitoring, you know, his fatigue.
Right.
And so, like, there's a bit of wisdom in, you know, taking rest days here and there, because we can, you know, flip the schedule in terms of the days off. But this week, it's not about that.
So even though Will was wearing a fitness tracker, it looks like some kind of Fitbit device or something like that. I personally use an Oura Ring, which I love. It's a great device, highly recommend it. He's wearing the device, but as we can see, due to fatigue, he didn't turn up to training the next day, and it sounds like this wasn't the only session where he's completely skipped.
The lead tension for me is the book. I'm writing my book, I'm writing my memoir. You know, there's a deadline. So I think on a daily, the emotional exhaustion in that way really saps my energy. And I'm really done with all of this. It's over, and we got to stop, and I'm ready to stop.
So at this particular time, it was obvious that finishing his memoir book that he was writing was the biggest stress on him, and the show, the filming, was becoming a burden and getting in the way of him wanting to complete that mission, which is more evidence that doing a hardcore, unsustainable diet and program just isn't going to work a long time if there are bigger priorities at play. So this is why I don't let any of my business owner clients take on extremely strict diets or super intense workout programs that's going to burn them out and end up failing it just like Will did, because that's a complete waste of my time and nobody wants to put in effort and not see that reward pay off long term. And what's the point of putting in all this effort if we want a long-term body transformation and we can't make it past week 15? What is the point of even starting it? However, for the 15 weeks that Will did complete, he does look great. I think he achieved a lot. You can see his physique. He's got muscle definition around the chest, his shoulders, his arms. For a guy in his mid-50s, he's looking pretty good, and he did well. But then what happened?
When you're trying to drop weight, and you're trying to be at a deficit, and you're trying to write your memoir at the same time, it's everything you have.
Yeah.
and a deadline, right? I'm doing something that's important to me right now. Leave me alone.
So he's admitted that the diets and the intense training was not the #1 priority. He wanted it to be part of the process, but the whole filming and everything was just getting in the way of that. So it's understandable that he pulled out of this 20 and 20 week series at week 15.
How difficult is it to balance the book and the fitness goals?
I had no idea. I was not prepared for the level of pain and drain that would be in this journey.
And this is why it is so important that when we're starting a long-term body transformation journey, that we start with the minimum effective dose. That means just starting with like changing one meal instead of completely overhauling every ingredient and food that we would normally eat. Just change one meal. Get that right, make it a habit. Start with just one workout or pick one time of the day to get up and move around and get some extra steps in. The minimum effective dose is what's going to lead to habits and allow us to stick to it long term so we actually get the result and we get to keep it. Even for men like Will Smith, who seemingly have it all in life, the reality is any actor, any famous person is just a human being like you and me. And speaking of men who allegedly have it all, including men who have top 1% physique that makes us feel a little bit suspicious on how they got that physique, there is one guy, despite denying it over and over and over, he's still accused of taking steroids. And this one guy's name is Andrew Tate. To find out if Andrew Tate is lying about taking steroids, go and watch this video on the screen right now.